One of competitive Pokemon's great tragedies is that Luxray, one of your best pals and companions for your in-game journeys through Sinnoh, is completely unviable. It's not enough for it to be terrible by OU standards or even UU. It's terrible in every tier across every generation, racking up untiered placement after untiered placement. It's so bad, its genuine analysis for ZU, the tier below even PU, literally just says, don't use Luxray. It's heartbreaking to see such a cool Pokemon suffer to this inhumane extent, but that suffering ends today. With enough support from the fanbase, perhaps Game Freak will take into account these proposed changes for Luxray at some point, just like they will take the improving Electivire video into account. Yeah, like when they released that super cool Platinum remake with the Distortion World and everything. Yeah. What is it about Generation 4 and bad physical electric types? Anyway, before Luxray can follow in Electivire's improved footsteps, it must be analyzed to see why it's such a colossal competitive failure. It's not enough to just say everything about it is bad, because that's not constructive and not even fully true. It's not like this is a Caterpie we're talking about. Luxray has a fantastic attack stat and two superb abilities in Intimidate and Guts. So why doesn't it work as some sort of strong physical attacker that can either switch into weakened physical hits more easily or become even stronger with a Flame Orb attached? Well, Luxray can't switch into much of anything because as great as Intimidate is, its bulk and longevity are non-existent. Its base 80 HP isn't outright bad, but it's certainly unspectacular, which is bad news when it's so flawed otherwise. The same goes for its base 79 defenses. This is particularly bad combined with its decidedly average defensive typing. Mono Electric may only have one weakness, ground, but it's not exactly loaded with resistances either, and if Luxray wants to go with an offensive set, it's going to be on the frailer side, meaning it doesn't even take resisted hits too well, especially since it's hit by every entry hazard and has no recovery. Luxray's opportunities to hit the field are limited even further by its decidedly subpar base 70 speed, and it's not nearly strong enough to justify that low speed stat. That leads to the final problem. If Luxray does manage to hit the field, it's not exactly threatening, and not just because everything outspeeds it and takes advantage of its frailty, it also doesn't hit that hard in spite of its great attack stat because its stab move is Wild Charge, whose 90 base power is fine, but unimpressive. It's almost insulting that such a so-so move has recoil. Yep, not only is Luxray's stab unimpressive in terms of strength, but its recoil makes its longevity even worse. And if it wants to make itself stronger, the issue just gets worse, since it does so with another method of dealing damage to itself, Flame Orb. You can't really run a choice band set on it because then each of its moves, none of which are spammable, become even easier to play around. Yeah, Facade is strong, so is Superpower, and Ice Fang and Crunch have good coverage, but you don't want to lock into any of them, and definitely not Wild Charge either, given that Luxray has enough problems with ground types as is. In essence, Luxray needs a complete overhaul. Before we get into how we change Luxray, if you do enjoy this video, please let me know by leaving a like and also subscribe to my channel. I upload these discussion videos 3 to 4 times a month, and I upload competitive Scarlet and Violet content every single day. Now, as fun as it would be to turn Luxray into the greatest electric type of all time with a 900 base stat total and Mew's move pool, we don't need to take such extreme measures to make it viable. As funny as it would be to see Luxray suddenly become better than Zekrom, Miraidon, and Zapplate Arceus, all it really needs is a good deal of small changes, starting with its typing. Let's be real, Luxray has always been an honorary dark type. Look at its appearance and know how Crunch is a level up move for it. Well, it's honorary no more, and we now have the game's second electric dark type after Morpeko. Dark typing does a lot for Luxray, offensively and defensively. Sure, the added weakness to Fairy, Fighting, and Bug aren't great to have, but it's not like Luxray was tanking such hits particularly well anyway, and it's a more than fair price to pay for its many benefits. Luxray gained some incredibly valuable resists with this change, becoming immune to Psychic and resistance to both Dark and Ghost. This provides it with many new opportunities to switch in, as well as genuine defensive utility for its team. On the offensive side, Luxray of course gained Stab on Crunch, which is huge. Now it finally has a truly spammable move. As a bonus, most fighting and dark types that will want to resist said Crunch don't want to come near its electric stab. Next, we need to fix Luxray's stats. It cannot be both frail and slow. We're not going to turn it into a tank nor a speedster, but we are going to make it respectable and actually useful in both regards. We'll go with a limit of plus 35 to its base stats in total. This is barely over a third of what it received with a Mega Evolution, so it seems more than fair. We'll start by giving it plus 4 attack. It's a relatively small boost, but a significant one, and it really pushes Luxray into a unique, notable place as far as power is concerned. Now, a Guts boosted Facade will do 50% minimum to special defensive Hippowdon. This is strong without being absurd. Of course, Luxray needs opportunities to use its strength, and so it must become faster and bulkier. Plus 10 to its base speed seems quite reasonable. Luxray doesn't seem like a super fast Pokemon, but base 70 is far too low. 80 is completely reasonable. It puts it ahead of Heatran, which there's no way it should be slower than. As for its bulk, we have 21 points left. We'll give each defense stat +5, which is a nice push without being overblown, and the remaining 11 go into HP, which both helps to accentuate the bulk and minimize recoil from Wild Charge. Behold, an Electric Dark Luxray with base 91 HP, base 124 attack, base 80 speed, and base 84 defense and special defense. It's a good start, but Luxray's move pool needs improvement as well. The first change that must be made is buffing Wild Charge to 120 base power. There's absolutely no reason it shouldn't be as strong as Flare Blitz, Wood Hammer, and Wave Crash. Honestly, if you're saying Volt Tackle is already 120 base power, just buff that up as well. It's Pikachu's signature move. Now Luxray doesn't just have a spammable dark type stab, but it also has this big power stab. And since they're not one and the same, it's not too much, even at 120 base power. Wild Charge is still doing 0% to ground types. Speaking of stab, we're also going to give Luxray some attacking alternatives to Crunch. First, we'll give it Knockoff, which is thematically fitting for a dark type cat. See Liepard and Incineroar. Knockoff's item removal effect is strong, but makes the move less spammable than Crunch against targets which have already lost their item, so the trade-off is noticeable. Of course, Luxray could use both moves on the same set, like Aura's Crawdon, but that won't be without drawback either. We'll also give Luxray the option of Sucker Punch to bypass its speed. To have such a great priority move is of course wonderful, but the fact it needs the opponent to attack means it's not easily spammable, especially with the choice lock of a band set or the residual damage of a Flame Orb set. Thus, it's balanced. Apart from stab, we'll also upgrade Luxray's superpower into close combat. It's not like it's so overwhelming that it needs to have its attack lowered for using strong fighting coverage, so it seems fair, especially in the wake of Gen 9 giving close combat to much stronger Pokemon like Breloom and Scizor, which already had superpower to begin with. With its improved bulk and an interesting set of resistances brought to it by its new unique typing, wouldn't it be cool if Luxray also had some utility options for its move pool it could support its team with, bringing more depth to its game than just being another hard hitter? Let's start off with Parting Shot, a rare move but one fitting for a dark type. Now Luxray can use switch moves even against ground types that would block Volt Switch, while also weakening whatever it wants to come in, thus making it even easier for its teammates to switch into. In a similar vein, we'll also give it Memento, which is fitting beyond just a stat drop dark type move of it all. It's also because the lioness Luxray getting KO'd brings to mind that scene from Lion King with Mufasa. I really wanted to fit it and make Luxray unique. Furthermore, it'd be nice if Luxray had a recovery option, not just for taking hits, but to offset recoil from Wild Charge and a potential Flame Orb. Thus we'll give it Morning Sun and Moonlight, which seems the most fitting for a light-based Pokemon. Finally, in the spirit of letting Luxray mess with the opponents more, we'll give it Spikes, thus providing its game a whole new dimension, especially with powerful stab knockoff to remove boots. Gen 9 gave a ton of Pokemon Spikes, and Luxray is spiky, so it fits. So we've got our new Electric Dark Luxray. It's bulkier, stronger, and faster while wielding several excellent new moves, though nothing anywhere near overwhelming. What sets might it run? The most obvious are Choice Band and Flame Orb. If it's willing to put up with the slow erosion of the burn, Luxray will now be much more well equipped to utilize its Flame Orb induced Guts ability. As it's faster, has a much more spammable stab move in addition to a much stronger Wild Charge, even packing Sucker Punch to ensure faster would-be revenge killers can't take it out freely, like Dragapult. Plus, with Morning Sun, it has a tool to take advantage of the switches it'll force and can reward good prediction by healing off this self-induced damage. It can't fit all these moves alongside the Facade and close combat it'll want to either, so it won't be too easy. One can even potentially envision it dropping Wild Charge entirely on some sets, though losing the move's huge base power, as well as the super effective slam on waters and flying types, doesn't make it the easiest concession. If Luxray doesn't feel like dealing with recoil, it can slap on a Choice Band and mow through most everything with Knockoff and Crunch. Both abilities would be good for a band set. With Guts, it becomes an automatic KO button, while Intimidate allows it to switch in more easily. It might even be able to fit in Spikes on a band set, taking advantage of predicted switches and softening the opponent up for itself later, just like Greninja. This move would likely be used more on a Choice Scarf set though, which is less about power and more about utility. Scarf Parting Shot would also be an excellent tool, while bringing an element of speed to its stab combination makes it quite a good anti-offense Pokemon, especially with Intimidate. Then, there are various utility sets that are tough to truly define, that would combine Luxray's excellent strength with its newfound defensive use and capacity for utility. It'd probably be offensively inclined, but could afford to invest in some bulk, and would dip into that support move pool so that it could either threaten the opponent with its stabs, or threaten them indirectly of course. Knockoff does both, so it'd be a fixture of such sets. Even a fully defensive Luxray seems conceivable. It's got the resist, it's got good enough bulk enhanced by Intimidate, it's got the recovery, it's got the hazard and switch move to get great use out of, while still hitting well uninvested and even item removing with knockoff. The item possibilities for these various utility sets seem plentiful too. The most obvious seem heavy duty boots and leftovers of course, and would almost certainly be all its fully defensive set would run, but there's a lot of potential for variation with the more offensively inclined one. It could run Dreadplate for a boost to its weaker stab, it could run Shuka, Roselli, or Choppa Berries to remove a weakness and catch a would-be revenge killer off guard, and surely many more. Overall, what did you think of this Luxray revamp? Was it too much? Not enough? Just right? Furthermore, what kind of sets would you run in the proposed Luxray? What tier do you see it winding up in? Let me know, and spread the word that Luxray is officially a dark type. Hopefully Game Freak will see the light. Speaking of light, we're also giving Luxray light that burns the sky because Lux means light and therefore it's fitting. Okay guys, I'll see y'all later. Nah, but really, I hope you guys all enjoyed. Check out my other discussion videos. I have a playlist down below. And check out my recent video on why Golden Go is the best Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.